Hello, I'm the culture genie. Throughout history, rings have been used to symbolize everything from devotion, fidelity, and eternity to representation of power and dominance, to the sacred and to the cursed. Rings are a symbol of wealth and status, as rings of precious metals and precious stones were very costly, or are very costly still. And its association with wealth also means that they became symbols of power and control, as wealth grants power and control. Rings were also symbols of oaths, due to rings being used to sign documents as signet rings, or as a ring in a chain link. In other words, rings are symbols of binding pledges and oaths. This is why rings are used in marriages as oaths of devotion. The ancient Greeks and Romans would recognize rings as love tokens, as exchanging rings between each other was a way of saying, I'm bound to this contract, I'm bound to this oath of being devoted. And this is why rings are associated with love and marriage. However, rings also have a darker side, particularly in Norse mythology. As rings symbolize both wealth and power and domination, it also means temptation, and thus the association with rings being cursed exists, where they are a symbol or a cause of great conflict for the wealth or the power that they represent. In the Norse mythology, Andvaranaut, the ring of the dwarf Andvari. In Norse mythology, the ring had the ability to create gold from nothing magically and was stolen by Loki and then cursed by the dwarf Andvari to bring a downfall of those who possess it. Then given to a dwarf king as reparation for the accidental killing of his son, then stolen by the king's son, who transformed into a dragon, and then killed by Sigurd, who gave it to Brynhildr. This is the inspiration for the Song of the Nibelung, which was adapted into Wagner's famous opera, The Ring des Nibelungen, or The Ring of the Nibelungen. This story probably also inspired The Lord of the Rings, when you begin to think about the fact that rings are also symbols of domination. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men
doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne, in the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them, in the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie.
The 1 ring in the Lord of the Rings is cursed, just like the rings of Norse mythology, and it is also a tool for domination. And it is also connected to eternity in that it kind of did keep the keepers of the 9 rings alive, though alive in a way that wasn't beneficial to them, as they were cursed to live forever as slaves. But on the flip side of rings being cursed is that they can actually be considered holy, as a symbol of holiness. Due to being symbols of wealth and power, they are very easily associated with holiness. And on the subject of holiness, ancient Hebrew legends spoke of how King Solomon was able to control demons and force them into rings. This was later adapted into the Islamic world and their mythology. This is why you see in the ring, in the original tale of Alf Layla wa Layla, Thousands and One Night, that Aladdin actually has 2 genies, 1 in a bottle and 1 in a ring. The same tale of Solomon in Arabic, catching Djinn and forcing them into service through the use of rings. And the Prophet Muhammad himself actually is referred to as a signet ring. Ma kana Muhammadun aba ahadin min rijalikum walakin rasulallahi wa khatama nabiyina wa kana Allah bikulli shay'in alim. Muhammad is not a father of any of your men, but he is the messenger of God and signet ring of the prophets, and God is by everything knowing. Muhammad is referred to by the use of the word khatam, which is signet ring or seal, is used to describe Muhammad in the Quran, as he is the last of the prophets, the end of the prophets, and he gives the correct stamp of the religion, metaphorically. Muhammad also wore rings, and it is the only sort of jewelry that is permitted in Islam, depending upon which sect you belong to. Because there are a lot of sects and subgroups of Islam. The rings that should be worn should be silver, as golden rings are forbidden. And Muhammad did wear a silver ring with a quartz stone as a signet ring. لبس خطم فضة في يمينه فيه فص حبشي كان يجعل فصه مما يلي كفه. And Muhammad wore a signet ring of silver in his right hand. In it was a stone of Ethiopic origin that he was turning towards his palm. There are also rules about where on which finger you should wear the ring. The Ethiopian stone that is mentioned is also made of something called aqiq in Arabic, which is a type of quartz. However, that is not the only sort of precious stone that is used in Islamic traditions. For example, both rubies and coral are used, as they are referenced in the Quran and compared to the spring maidens of heaven. Hur al-Ain are said to be like rubies and coral. Coral and rubies are here presented as being precious and undesirable creations of God. Anyway, wearing rings is part of the Sunnah, part of the prophetic tradition. In this we can see that rings both symbolize cursed things, with containing Jinn that are sometimes considered evil, and with rings being cursed in Norse mythology. Can also symbolize holy things, with both Solomon and later Muhammad carrying rings. There is thus a duality to rings that can exist, where they are both connected to the holy things and to cursed things, and thus rings can symbolize a lot of things. Like many other things related to symbolism, there exists a lot more than what I've said here, but I just wanted a brief overview of the symbolism of the ring in some cultures. And I hope that this has been informative for you and that you have liked this video. Why is the ring coming closer? No, don't come closer, don't! Trapped in the ring. We will see you later. Please do subscribe, as it would help the channel spread awareness about the humanities. اشترك بالقناة من فضلكم.